Hi there YouTube, Extreme Trains here. So in this video we're taking a look at an item I thought had totally been skipped in Australia, and it is the metal engine Ashima. You can see it right here. Somehow it's ended up, it was mixed in with some, Kenjis and Gordons and Henrys and Jameses. There was only one of her left on the shelves, and sitting next to her was one case, I think, of the Harold Whiff and Toby wave of the push-along smaller engines. Regardless, she's here and she's certainly got some things that are interesting that I really want to talk about. So what are we waiting for? Let's do it. The standard packaging that you've all seen before. As you can see, what they've done with Ashima is made her into a quote-unquote big engine by adding on this little truck thing, which I think is the same truck thing that comes in that Thomas 4-pack, but please let me know if that is incorrect. So we've got the view of the face there, and then we've got all the usual blah blah here on the back. Empowering the next generation through play. We'll see about that. Alright, what are you waiting for? Let's crack her open. So this is Ashima in all of her quote-unquote glory. I'm going to do a spin around. Ashima was one of the ones when I saw I really was not super impressed with. And getting her in hand, I don't know if that opinion has changed. She's certainly unique, but let's start with the good stuff. This front looks excellent. I really like the way that this looks. You can see we've got an excellent face. We've got a lot of painted detail. This is the kind of detail which has been missing from other previous versions of her model. She has these new little things around the side which are also picked out in paint, which is nice. They look kind of weird. They look kind of like big ears. You can see what they're supposed to look like there on the box, but that's okay. I appreciate the effort, and they tried. And we've also got the painted light. So there's a lot of painted or printed details, I should say, on this one. But it starts to fall apart when we turn around here to the side, and it's grim. It's very, very grim. The first thing that I note immediately is just the difference in the plastic. It's extremely matte. Compare this with Whiff, and you can see it's very reflective, the black plastic that's been used. But for some reason, they've used a very matte plastic here for Ashima, and I think that does hurt the model a little bit. It just doesn't look as exciting or as bright. It looks a little bit knockoff-ish because of that, and it's that same kind of flatness that's also present here on the top of her cab. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but then it's weird because then the plastic inside the cab seems to be that more reflective version. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, but yeah, something funny has happened and that hasn't come out to be reflective. And you can see the details are quite small. Like that is a tiny funnel. I know she has a smaller funnel in the show, but for All Engines Go, which is all about the big exaggerated features, compare Thomas's funnel to Ashima's funnel, it just looks a little bit strange, even if it is meant to be realistic. We've got the dome here. The proportions are whack. I mean, her proportions in the show are whack, but they're also whack here with this huge kind of section in the middle, and then very tall. You can see they have actually molded the detail for all of her extra little driving wheel mechanisms, but then we come to the wheels, and they're a very sorry sight. Not only can you see the cuts into the chassis, which I've talked about on some of the other engines, I think it looks extremely ugly to be able to see those big cuts in the chassis. But also, again, I think she really suffers from having the plain wheels. It does look very, very boring from the side. I think from the front, you get that real sense of what she's supposed to look like. But if you compare this, again, this is just one picture, to the actual details, she is detailed all over. That's one of Ashima's big things. It was a big thing in the original series, the big thing in All Engines Go, and this is just so plain. It's a lot of blue or blue purple. It's a lot of black. It's these big chunks of pink. It's really missing the extra details like we've got on the front here that would lift the rest of this model. So yeah, this one is it's not wowing me. And then we come to this little truck thing that they have included. This actually I quite like. I think this is very cute. It comes with one of those little plugs that they use to keep some of the load. So for example, here we go. We should be able to do this. Yep, there we go. We can put the star in there, which is great. This is the kind of intercompatibility that you should be aiming for in a toy line like this, so that you can do what I just did, which is take some cargo from one set and use it with another. These are quite cool. I wouldn't mind having a big long train of these. They really do look like the show. The scale is obviously quite strange, and there are these funny little things. But this one definitely I prefer to the one that came with the Gordon set. This one to me feels a little bit more. ironically enough, it feels like it's got more effort into it. Even the fact we've got these kind of flecked glitter wheels, they look so much better than just the plain plastic ones that we've got on Ashima. So, do some comparisons very quickly. Here is Toby, as I was saying, one of the largest small engines that we've got. And you can see that Ashima is still larger, although I think Toby's heavier without putting him on the scales. So, I mean, given they made Toby a small engine, I don't really know why they couldn't make Ashima a small engine. Instead, they had to put in this extra little plastic thing. So you can see that's what that looks like. Move them out of the way. You can see this is a comparison with Thomas. So she's much larger than Thomas, which again, I think is good for getting some of that scale in. But it means she's a lot taller than, for example, all of the tender engines, which is kind of weird. And then another recent comparison is with the Whiff, which is she's on the shelves with as well. And you can see again, she is quite large, but a lot of that comes from the fact she's quite tall. If you look at the face, for example, her face is quite a bit smaller than Thomas's. So this is definitely a weird item. At the end of this review, what do I think about the push-along / metal engine Ashima? It's okay. I think it's better than, for example, or maybe it's better than the Thomas Wood version, which is one of the other versions that I've seen in the flesh. But really, I don't know. It just, again, it feels like they've tried to capture some of the details, but the way that this all looks in here is all extremely plain. The plain looking wheels, to me, they're not saying Ashima. And Ashima is, again, very detailed, very colorful, and they just haven't captured that, I don't think, in this model, particularly when you view it from anything except the front. I like the size, but that has consequences for the design. Particularly, you can see the cuts into the chassis, which I really don't like. And then I do like this little truck that she comes with, but it's the kind of thing where you don't want just one of these. You want a pack, and that's one thing that's really been lacking in probably the last 10 years, I would say, maybe even longer, of Thomas and Friends merchandise. Pretty much ever since the end of, the Toys R Us world, which is, getting quite close to almost 10 years now, which is a bit crazy. There's really not a lot of rolling stock available in any of the Thomas and Friends lines. I talked about this a lot with minis, but it's true of all of them. And this is the kind of thing where you could sell a multi-pack of these and have lots of different little colored cargo. I mean, it's all engines go, so they could be like gems or something. And I think you could sell, for a large engine price, like a 4-pack of these. Yeah, for $12, if it all came with cargo, yes, it's all plastic, but, kids would love that. It's the same as there's no push-along Annie and Clarabelle in this range. Like, where are they? And you can't really buy them in any context. I think they've only been in a couple of sets, and even then, I think they were the old, like the boxcars with stickers on them. So I think this is cool, but it doesn't really add a lot. And so you do need to wonder, well, am I getting $12 Australian dollars worth of toy here when this was, $6 to $8 Australian dollars? And I think the answer is probably not. So yeah, I think Ashima is one you can skip if you aren't a, completionist. You want to get them all like I do. She's your favorite character. It's good to see that she's got merchandise. I know there's been problems with, the way Mattel treated a lot of the characters from, for example, The Great Race, and like not releasing merchandise of them properly. It's good to see with All Engines Go, at least, that we're getting quite a lot of the characters who are appearing in that show getting some kind of merchandise. But still, yeah, if this is your thing, if you love Ashima, then by all means go and pick this up. But I do think, unfortunately, really missed an opportunity given the level of effort they've gone to for other engines. Look at Whiff, for example. Just look how much more visually interesting Whiff is. And he's a garbage engine, And I think that really says it all in terms of the approach that they've taken, particularly to these larger engines, which I think has resulted in quite a poor outcome for Ashima here. All right, that's enough blabbing from me. Love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Otherwise, that's all we've got time for. This is Extreme Train.